Hey there, Preacher fans. The tombs are open, and we're talking about them. Stay tuned for Preacher Season 3, Episode 4, The Tombs.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
That's the best part of the show.
Yeah.
Welcome, everybody, to the Preacher After Show here on AfterBuzz TV. We are talking about Preacher Season 3, Episode 4, The Tombs. I'm your host, Alana Jordan, and joining me today...
Hi, I'm Dave, and we've got a new friend.
We do have a new friend.
Chauncey.
Hi, my name's Chauncey.
We sent Nate to the tombs. He lost, but emerged a victor. No, Nate will be back next week.
He'll be back. By the way, we do have the chat open, so feel free to talk to us at any point and tell us what you guys think and ask us questions, and we'll talk to you back.
So I have a couple questions for you guys. Kicking it off, what did you think about this episode?
Ooh, I liked it. I think this season's going really strong, and I like the choices that they're making for different I don't know, they're making choices that I could see where they're going with the pace of the story, and they're keeping with the comics in an interesting way, and I'm enjoying some certain things. I got one little nitpicky thing, but we'll get to that later.
Okay.
I've loved it so far. I think this particular episode was just like the perfect balance of the humor and the darkness that they do so well. And this one in particular was just like, I was laughing and then I was like, aw. And I owe a lot of horrible things, just so everyone knows.
And Chauncey, since we were just able to burgle you for our show now, what have you been thinking about this season overall as a whole, too?
I really liked it so far. The last season I thought it was a little bit more character introspective with each of them having their kind of journey in each one. And this one, it's a bit more intertwined. I think there's a bit more. It's not as much bromance going on as I would like.
I know.
But...
I was talking about that a couple of episodes ago, too. I was like, oh, I missed the bromance.
Yeah.
The bromance has gotten a little choppy.
It's a bit intense.
Choppy.
Reference.
Because limbs
Phrasing.
fell off.
Which was an awesome scene as well.
Yeah. It was good. I said no liquids.
Right? He was the perfect worker. Like, that's the perfect, like, you just know he's been there too long.
He knows that's happened too often. He works next to, like, 2 voodoo factories.
Right?
I think he's used to weird things
The
getting
convenience
shipped.
store in New Orleans is not very convenient for those who work there.
Yeah.
Now, this was really cool, too, because we finally have gotten the return of the Saint.
The Saint.
We've been wondering about what's been going
Yeah.
on in hell this season, because since we have had this intertwined storyline that we've been kind of focusing on.
I love that that's a sentence in this show.
I know,
We've been wondering what's been going on in hell.
Just nonchalantly, like, we're like, we got some buds in hell. We've been wondering how they've been.
Yeah.
How's things
We still
going?
don't know. We still don't know how Eugene is holding up. We're hoping for the best.
We
I
haven't met
thought
him
we
yet.
would see some of Eugene this week, and I was
Yeah.
wrong.
Well, I think he's definitely coming up because one
And
person we
hopefully
do get to
coming
meet. Yeah, well, he is out of hell. He already came out of hell. He's still
that's
out there. And someone who's not very happy about that we got to meet for the first time, is Satan himself. We got to meet
Yes.
the devil.
I was so excited.
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
So excited to meet the devil.
The devil's office is dope.
Right?
I know.
I want the devil's office with all the mirrors reflecting like the lava stream from the floor.
Yeah, I love the whole Castle Grayskull thing he got going on,
Yes,
too.
with like the bridge to get to the devil.
I love that they did, and this is something that's in the comics too, but I love how they went with like a traditional, like heavy metal devil.
Yeah.
And that's really good because it actually ended up being a little different. Because the rest of hell that we've seen is like kind of an office.
Yeah.
We've seen like a jail, but it's all kind of gray and black. So it's a bit of a surprise when you meet the devil and he's not just a guy in a suit, or it's not.
I was
you know?
expecting that. I honestly was. I was like, he's going to be some swarmy kind of gentleman. Like,
He would look like
beautiful
Hair Star,
angel or
kinda.
something. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
And they
yeah.
went a totally different direction, which I really liked.
They went full blown devil, which
Full-blown
is also kind of what they did last when we first got
Which is
to
also
meet.
my new band name.
Full blown devil. I'm a full blown devil. But last week we got to meet like God outside of the dog mask. And we got to see that God looks like God.
Yeah.
And devil looks like the devil.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that about Preacher, how they're not doing a Sandman thing or something where it's David Bowie or
I think it would be too much because there's so many elements that they have going on as well. We need those identifiable kind of tropes to latch onto in certain parts.
And especially since most of the Preacher mythos is like, it's not what you think. It's not what you think. What you think about like God and stuff is not what you think. He's the guy going around. So when you do see moments where it's like, yeah, no, that's actually exactly right. That's actually exactly what
Like
the
when
devil
Tulip
looks
is like, wait, but you look just like fake God.
He's like, it's all
like,
in the plan.
Yeah. I love it. I love God.
God.
Well, the devil knows that God is not in his office. He's making some phone calls to presumably heaven, saying, no loose ends, saying,
Well, it's
Father.
like if someone's gonna come in and be like, take the ship, it's gonna. The devil wants to do that, so he's trying to get all of his loose ends tied up in hell, and big loose ends that are happening. First we had to have a little bit of punishment for the saint. And
by a little bit, we mean strip him to
the bone,
the actual bone.
Yeah, he got the baby back ribs. But I enjoy that.
Saints, baby back ribs. He didn't scream.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, okay.
You're
Barbecue
welcome.
sauce. I like that too because
Welcome, Chauncey. This is what you've signed up for.
I dig it.
you saw him get like whipped, and I'm glad you get this like reveal that the whole back is like peeled away.
Yeah.
So it's not just like a light whipping, because whips you can't always
It's
tell.
full Depeche Mode.
Like how bad it is. Like
We needed to see.
We needed to see. We needed to see the bone.
And also silent but deadly angel of death there as well.
Sydney.
Right.
Yeah. Which is
Sydney, the silent but deadly sneaky fart.
I was gonna say like,
Sneaking in.
yeah, the devil's fart.
The devil's fart, the angel of death, Sydney. I do like that the angel of death is just named Sydney and doesn't
Right.
know Midnight Runs. Isn't Midnight Run. I don't know. I just loved that.
I love the devil getting upset about that.
He's like, that's not the moment has passed.
Yeah, and we do see. So after he's punished, and then at the end of the episode, he says, "Okay, you have to go, and you have to find these two missing people." And I think we know who those two missing people are. They're our old friends Hitler and
Hitler
Arseface.
and Eugene, yep.
Yeah. So they're I think
because
they're coming
what's
up.
bad for the devil is bad for everybody.
But I love that they brought the Saint back, and they also figured out a way to bring the Saint back in a way where he is a guy who ends up getting too powerful too fast. Because you give him a gun that could shoot anyone, shoot anything, and he's kind of a wrecking ball wherever he goes. But the fact that he's back, but he doesn't have the guns, and he has to get those two people in order to get the guns, in order to go kill the preacher, that's great.
I do like that.
It's just a great way of keeping the story going and bringing back the characters so you're not forgetting about them.
And I love the kind of offhand things that we have just, the one side of the devil's conversation. It's like when he says, okay, Father, bye, like I have big plans. I'm expanding. There's clearly somebody working to help bring the devil
Was he talking to Father?
He says, bye. He says, no loose ends. I expect the same on your end. Okay, thanks, Father. He's coming in now.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah,
that.
so he's
says
talking
Father.
to God. Yeah. Okay.
Well, it's not God. It's
like a
it's
priest.
Somebody who is overseeing heaven, basically God. So we know that this means that this somehow
it could also be.
It could be somebody else. So
yeah, but if he said Father, that kind of thinks maybe he's talking to God.
But is he in somehow cahoots with?
I don't think that it's
Maybe.
God, because he's saying, God's gone. I think he's saying, no loose ends, same on your end. I think he's saying, like, that my plan is to expand.
Right.
Somebody needs to take over heaven. If Humperdoing and doing it, I'm swooping in.
Yeah.
So he has somebody in heaven who's saying some control is better than no control, is how I took it.
Right, but who's the father of the devil?
That's what I'm assuming that
Exactly.
we'll figure out. That's what I'm assuming.
Well,
that,
Father of the
but
Devil is
I mean,
God.
Father of
but
the
I'm saying like
Devil
who
is
he's referring to on the phone, though.
Yeah,
Like who
yeah,
he's
yeah,
saying to like Father.
It might be
Because it could
a
just be a
priest.
priest.
It could be the Pope. It could be like anyone.
That's what I'm
It'd be
assuming.
interesting if
Yeah.
it was Pope.
I don't think that it's God though. Yeah.
Right.
But having that side I thought was pretty cool. So, and having the whole Kismet conversation.
So apparently, this Ivan yelling at us. Hi, Ivan. That it's All Father. He said All Father. which I'm not quite sure.
He's talking to the Allfather?
So he's talking to the Allfather, which is
That would make
interesting.
sense because then Hairstar, because Hairstar is trying to overthrow the Allfather,
Yes.
which we already know. And then we'll talk about a little later on in our predictions that we may be seeing him
He's
for
talking
the
to
first
the
time
leader
next.
of the Grail, which makes sense because the Grail's trying to
Allfather.
keep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would make sense. That would make sense. You know what else makes sense? The way that we have organized our shows here at AfterBuzz TV. I love the new organization system.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, hey, AfterBuzzers, our network produces after shows for nearly all of your favorite TV shows, from dramas, reality TV, sci-fi, and more. There's no network that works harder to serve television fans. But we need your help. We're asking that you please subscribe to one or more of our YouTube channels. By subscribing to our channel, YouTube will suggest content that's tailor-made for you, and you'll help AfterBuzz continue to grow. And if you're worried about pesky notifications, don't be, because they're optional.
There,
So,
you don't need them.
hit that subscribe button now for this channel and check out our AfterBuzz YouTube channels as well. Let us know you did so in the comments and we'll thank you on air. For now, thanks for being the best fans and for helping us be the ESPN of TV talk.
Yeah.
I love having that preacher music
I know.
behind it.
I was
It
like,
made it feel like,
oh. That made that feel like a real call to action. I'm gonna do this.
join
now.
us at AfterBuzz.
If you like this show
It's a
and
rallying
it's
cry.
epic music, you'll enjoy the other
Yeah. It
shows
is
we
epic
have that
music.
are also epic.
Perfect.
You know who else was epic this episode? Tulip.
Right? Oh my gosh.
Kicking ass and
I love
taking
Tulip
names.
so much. I love when she drives. I got to see her drive this episode. I was just like, I love when Tulip drives.
Yeah.
I love when she drives both literally and metaphorically.
Yes,
when she's
yes.
like, I'm in the driver's seat, I know what's going on. And we got to see that this episode
She
too.
was a
that
woman
she's
on a
really
mission.
taking control
Yeah.
and getting to see her talk to Sabina and see the view of how she sees what
Right.
happened with Jesse when they were growing up versus Tulip, who genuinely loves Jesse and feels that she sees him for who he really is and that there is goodness in him.
Right.
Whereas, the worst person, I think they both can say he's the worst person that they've
I
ever
know.
loved, but
Well, what's really strong about this episode specifically, I think, is you get to see how like Jesse treats the people he loves, which is pretty bad, but you understand why. Like, you see his tactic of being mean so he can be distanced from them as much as possible, which made the episode really cohesive and really great because it made both like the storyline with him and Cass and the storyline with Sabina and Tulip kind of all tied together,
Yeah.
which was really nice. And in Sabina, we also got to meet someone who has also dated Jesse, and we haven't had that before, except maybe that girl in the first season who had a crush on him.
Yeah, but she didn't count.
She didn't.
yeah, she didn't count.
She blown up anyway. And I loved Sabina because, for one, the reveal last week of like that she's the madam of the boys,
Yeah.
which was great, and just the idea that she's
And what a badass name, Sabina Boyd.
Sabina Boyd. I love when she like compliments Tulip's nails and
Yes.
yeah, they had a good back and forth. They had a good
It
relationship.
was good dynamic. Yeah, I think it's what's so interesting to me about the Tulip and Jesse situation is that they're so toxic, but in such an awesome way. It's weird, and maybe I shouldn't like them, but it's like there's a certain way where Tulip always believes in Jesse, even if she has doubt. She has so much loyalty to him, and to a fault, to a certain degree. And also, Jesse is always trying to protect her. But what I loved about Tulip in this particular episode is the fact that, I mean, I felt like a lot with last season, she was kind of not necessarily sidelined, but she was, she had the PTSD of the situation with
Right.
and this one, she's just so much more active. She's just been able to take a little bit more of a driving force with
Yeah.
like we saw, like she was like, I want to be in the know. I don't need a boyfriend to protect me like a damsel. I need someone who's going to level with me. And I thought that was one of the best lines, because it was like that's exactly that's a Tulip line right there.
Yeah.
That's her MO. Like, I need you to level with me.
Because we see this episode just the quintessential Tulip moments where
Yeah.
it's like, oh, you're locked in a room, you can't get out, I'm gonna shoot through the floor, and then we're gonna jump
Which
through
was
it.
Right.
awesome.
Oh, the shooting the hole
Yes,
in the
hole
floor.
in the floor, and then just like, you're a
What
crazy
action
bitch.
movie
is that
though, jump.
I kind of
Is that an
expected.
action movie? Is that from an action movie?
don't
I
know.
feel like
I
I've
don't know.
seen that scene before.
I just kept thinking, like, what if there
Goldeneye
wasn't?
on the train?
GoldenEye on the train?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
See, I knew. I was like, that's a reference. Just like the skin stuff was Mission
Jeff in the
Impossible
booth.
too, all a day. Like the skin.
Or
stuff.
Oh, this kid. And also,
And Face Off.
And also Star Wars.
Yes.
Yeah.
There were so many references.
I kept thinking when she shot the hole and then went through the floor, I was like, she had to know there was a basement. Because if that was just the ground floor, she just went poof.
Yeah, and then it's like, oh, well,
Wouldn't have done anything.
God, that would have been even funnier.
That would have been great. I love to see them go back to this joke later and for it to mess up and just have it like go boom.
I love that. Yeah.
Oh, and also we have on the chat someone thought it was Underworld as well. I guess that's that.
There is another. There's so many.
yeah.
It's such
Too
a
hype.
quintessential scene where someone shoots the thing in certain action movies, and I've
Yeah.
seen it, but it's always awesome. But I love
But
it.
Tulip's just nonchalant, watch your toes. Like,
Yeah.
that it's her delivery of everything where she's just like, yeah, I know I'm a badass. I don't.
It's also a great. This isn't a spoiler of the comic, but it's a great adaptation of her relationship with Custer. It's great because in the comics it's very 90s kind of guy.
These are a lot.
Irish guy trying to write a feminist and having trouble with it. And this is someone who, because what ends up happening is like basically Custer locking her in a room and then going off and having a fight. And this is him trying to distance and protect her in a way that made it so they were more like people. And it made more sense that they were loving each other and trying to do this as a way to kind of protect themselves. And that was really cool to see.
Yeah.
I love that you
dug
mentioned that too, because I do
Yeah.
feel like this is a very much more modern adaptation because
Right.
a lot of the 90s feminism was just saying, I'm a feminist.
Well, it was
And-
also the 90s feminism was as strong as feminist now, but written by an Irish guy who's
No, I'm just
trying.
saying in general though.
He's
Like, I mean, you
trying.
think about like
Yeah.
Spice Girls type mentality where everything was just saying like girl power, I'm a feminist, and it was like, but she's sitting in a room while she waits for him to get back. She's not
Right.
doing anything. Whereas now she's actually going out. I mean, he's even asking like, how do you know about Sabina? And she's like, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
You got your missions, I got my missions. Don't worry about
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
you've got your secrets. Okay.
I'm a person, and this is also Tulip is someone who I definitely think she's like a stronger fighter than Cassidy.
Oh yeah,
it's-
for sure.
It's great.
For sure. I think that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Way
Tulip
more of an
versus
asset.
Cass. He's gone.
Yeah.
She's had
He'll
like
keep getting hit, but she'll win in the end.
Tulip, I mean, she just has so much more like agency in this like adaptation of her at times, where it's just like there's just a bit more like Ruth plays her so well, but it's like just that drive
talented.
that
Yeah.
she has. But I just love how she also plays the vulnerability at times with her, like with the love of Jesse, like where she doesn't want to believe in those dark parts, but then it's like, okay, well, whatever, we're gonna deal with this, you know?
Right.
And that was a lot of back and forth with that. So.
Him getting in her face and screaming, basically, like, you get it, got it, good. And then just seeing the nonverbal of her just holding back tears, brilliantly acted. I'm like, if they do not give Ruth a damn Emmy nomination after this, I'm going to be livid.
I mean, she deserves all the awards. If you ever get a chance, watch the movie Loving,
Yes.
where she really should have gotten an
Awesome.
Oscar nom
She
for
should've.
that. Like,
She's so good.
it was a great movie, and she's really being full dramatic in that, and it's really good.
She and Joseph both, too, in Misfits are brilliant.
Yeah.
It's really fun to see them again. But a little off
She
topic.
Misfits? I didn't realize
Yeah,
she
she
was.
was in
was. That's
Misfits.
where I
She was
first saw her.
Curtis's. She was Curtis's girlfriend who can teleport.
Oh, I don't even remember
I remember
that.
that's
She
where
was
I
one of my
first saw her.
favorites.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
she was
cool.
dope.
Okay,
She had
cool.
full on accent in that one too. Well,
Yeah.
her regular accent. So.
Cool.
Yeah, I loved all of the scenes though with her and Sabina, just of her driving and her trying to give her directions of saying, you
Yeah.
can't get there on this road, and she's like, you're so lost. She's
Yeah,
saying,
yeah.
oh really? Because a little boy broke your heart 20 years ago, and now you still hate him, and I'm the one that's lost. And it's
Right.
like, oh,
And then the reveal that it was more than just breaking the heart, that
it was killing her brother.
killing her brother was like, oh, yeah, okay, all
Yeah,
right.
well, that justifies it.
Yeah.
I get it.
I did that
I get it. It's also another example of them taking that notion of it's just a girl hating her ex,
Yeah.
which can on surface be like, oh no, that's not a true character thing, and then finding out, oh wait, she hates the ex because he killed the brother. That makes sense.
Yeah, and Tulip finding out the real story behind it
Yeah.
of how this whole, which I'm assuming is going to somehow be relayed to Sabina, is
Right.
that
Well, what I loved about that true story they're not that different.
No,
not,
there was
yeah.
a very subtle difference. Just the idea that Jesse was actually just trying to defend himself.
Yeah.
So it wasn't necessarily like, oh, the guy stopped and he still kept trying to kill him. It was more
Right.
so he wasn't stopping, but he still killed him.
And it wasn't him revering in his victory. It
Yeah.
was that Jody is the one who's
Yes.
holding his hand up
Yeah.
while he's in shock.
But that's the
deal.
only difference.
But
Besides
I mean,
that,
but
he's
it is.
still...
But the difference is
It's
his
huge.
motives. It's
Yeah.
the difference
Yeah.
is his where he's coming from, and because Sabina genuinely thinks that he thinks you're just trash, and I was just
Right.
messing with you, and then I killed your brother because Boyds don't matter to me because Boyds are less than trash, whereas Tulip knows this is a defense mechanism.
Right.
It's throwing the rocks at the dog to get him to run away.
Yeah. Or the Sasquatch if you're watching Harry and the Hendersons.
Yeah.
Get away, we don't like you. We don't like...
Stop making me cry
Sorry.
with the Harry
Watch,
and the Hendersons reference.
If you want a good cry, look up
I
that
do
scene.
love Harry and the Hendersons.
John Lithgow.
the
This
intentions
is
were
so many
different.
good
Yeah.
references in this show and on the after show.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we're full of it. I have to say, as an actor, I think that it would be so much fun to play that young Jesse character because you get to
Yeah.
do 2 scenes where you're basically saying the exact same thing, just in a different way. And that was really cool to see, and I think he really pulled it off. Like it was.
The editing on this show is pretty amazing too, and having him where he's with her, and then the flashbacks of TC saying, you better not let Madame Boyd let Madame Langell find out where you're really going because that pretty little girl isn't going to do so well down here
Yeah.
in the tombs. And then him with her seeing the flashback of all of the men chained walking through.
Yeah. And not wanting that to happen to her.
It's so now.
So he did it because he cared.
yeah,
And the intentions.
which Tulip knows, but
Yeah,
no one
yeah.
else really does.
And you can't really blame them, which is what I like about this season. I think they're finding Custer, Jesse a bit more because I think he's being a lot more likable this season.
I know. That's what I thought the same thing.
Did
Because
you
last
think
season
that?
I was not feeling him. I was like, I do not like this guy. Is he the preacher? I don't know.
Yeah, it was kind of like
Yeah. I think that they like rewatched their season and kind of took some of their own notes.
this is the stuff that needs
It was
to change.
hard to sympathize with him
Yeah.
last season. It was like, well, you are just very like one track with this whole thing. Do you notice the other people around you that care about you? And
Yeah.
this season, it's a lot more into, like you're saying, like it's a lot more his background, how he got to that. You can sympathize with this character. Like I
Right.
like that you're the protagonist again.
A lot of people are still on some of the people in the chat still hate Custer.
Oh.
But I think they're on the way of redeeming him in a way, and I'm curious to see where they go with him. But I definitely agree.
I
that
feel like
think
they're
it's
gonna
better.
make him. You're going to love him through Tulip's eyes. Is
Yeah.
how
Yes.
I see it.
Yeah.
No. Oh.
Yeah, I was gonna bring it to the tombs if you were gonna.
Oh,
bring it to
actually,
the
no.
tombs.
Before we go there,
Okay.
before we leave Tulip,
Okay.
I have to ask you guys. So we get just a brief moment of God driving by on the motorcycle
Right.
when Tulip's head is down. Do you think right now things are still going according to God's plan that He has orchestrated with Tulip? Because we've seen Him say, basically, I'm counting on you messing up. And she's all defeated there. We know that she's got Jesse's ex in the trunk of her car at this point. So Jesse's ex is in the trunk of her car. She's defeated. God drives by. And because they slow down and focus on that, I'm thinking that this is somehow a planned thing where he wants Sabina and Tulip.
Well, it's also story-wise, it's a reminder. I think he's now going, because he said that messing up thing. That's an important thing to remember. I think him showing up is kind of showing. It's a visual representation of her self, like defeat, because it's feeling like she's messing up again. She keeps messing up. And now a good way of showing that, rather than like going to her dad up in purgatory like a couple of episodes ago, they can just go to God just driving by and being like, good job, you're messing up. And it kind of represents that. So, and I also think maybe it's still according to plan. And I think if it wasn't, we'll see him get a little bit angry. And I'm curious to see what happens there. I don't think she knew that God was there.
Well, considering that Sabina says, I can't break the spell, only you can. You
Right.
can only do it if you kill Madame Langell. The only person I hate more than Jesse is Madame Langell. That's
Yeah.
why you should trust me. and Tulip, of course, being skeptical, saying there's going to be some weird boomerang shit that's going to come back and Jesse's head's going to fall off or something.
Which I think we were all thinking too.
Yes. So I'm glad that she said something about it, that she's like, no,
She's aware
like this
of
is
it.
clearly, it's going to be like the blood compact thing where you're going to cut them in half if I tear up the napkin. Do you think that this is a situation where God is trying to push her into this scenario to trap
Interesting.
Jesse?
To trap Jesse. Maybe. It's a good idea.
Yeah.
We'll see. I think there is. I kind of do trust her, despite like I kind of feel like that makes sense to me. Like you can kill her. What might end up happening is you can kill her, and it doesn't quite break the curse as much as if you kill her and get your hands on the actual item and keep it safe, you might be fine. But if you do something to it,
I feel like
it
there's
might be a
too many
problem.
elements. There's too many weird things, and there's so many loopholes and rules.
It's a lot of leprechauns.
Yeah,
stuff
it seems
going
like if
on
she's
here.
dead, then Jesse's just stuck forever.
Perhaps, yeah.
Because then she can't release the soul. Like, because the debt is only repaid when she says it's repaid, and they keep stressing that she has to say it's repaid. So if she's dead, she can't say it's repaid.
Yeah.
So does that mean he never gets his soul back? I don't know if I trust you, Sabina.
I don't know. Yeah, well, also, he can't really, He gets the soul from the Grail, too. He
Yeah,
can't get
they
it from-
have it. That's why I can't use the
He has to-
Genesis right now.
Yeah.
Right, that's still off the table. So you also have, what's going to be interesting about this whole season is we're going to have a Saint without guns, and we have a Jesse without the
Genesis,
voice.
yeah.
So it's both of these kind of superpowers have a lid on them. And I'm curious to see what happens.
Which is good.
It's like
something
watching
to build
Batman
to.
and Iron Man fight each other without their suits on.
Yeah, true. Well,
Batman would win.
Batman would win. So why are we even...
That's true.
I'm glad we were
I
on
mean,
the same
it's
page
like,
with
that's
that, 'cause
pretty
I knew
clear.
that instantly. I was like, well, Batman would still win.
Yeah, Batman would still win.
So
When you bring Batman in, it's just, anyways.
we've gotten off topic.
Yeah.
Still DC properties, whatever.
Yeah. Well, Iron Man's Marvel. Anyways.
Batman.
Oh, yeah.
We're only talking about Batman, the
Okay.
victor, the winner.
All right.
So, going to the tombs.
To the tombs, yeah.
To the tombs!
This is the one nitpicky thing I kind of have, is I feel like the tombs... I was a little upset to discover all they are is like a fight club.
Right? That's what I was thinking. I was like, so it's like Gladiator, like slash Fight Club.
Yeah, and I feel like they're fight
I feel
clubs.
like there has to
But
be
it's
something
for,
more, right?
it's for
your soul.
It's
For
for
the
your
souls.
soul. You're fighting to the death, potentially, for your soul.
What sounds cool, but for some reason it isn't as cool as I thought it was. I don't know.
Maybe because they kept referencing like the tombs. Are you going to open up the tombs? And I'm
Oh,
like,
yeah,
wow,
it's a
what's in the
tomb.
tombs? And
Well,
it's like
maybe
a betting
because
range.
they do make
a bunch of
almost a
dudes.
joke about it being Gladiator, where they literally
Yeah,
are
they
saying,
reference
"Are
it.
you not entertained?
And then
I'm
he
gonna
even
go
says,
watch Gladiator
Yeah,
again."
yeah, I
there was a
know.
Gladiator
And it's like,
reference.
okay. And then I do like that they make kind of the, like where Cass even says, you look like a weird, like a deformed circus.
Circus.
Yes. And I was, because last week I was like, well, I thought he was going to break into Greatest Showman when they had him
Right,
like
no, he kept
backlit,
doing
like
the
that
I know.
flip. I was like, ladies and gentlemen, I'm taking your souls now.
He's gonna dance.
right?
He's gonna dance
Where's
like Hugh
Hugh
Jackman.
Jackman?
Old Zac
Dance
Efron's gonna
your
come on
soul
out.
away.
It's gonna be good. This is me.
Zac Efron took your heart, but Jesse will take your soul.
Yeah. Oh.
It writes itself. It writes itself.
I just felt like it just turned into
Sorry.
like an overinflated dogfight. And one of the things that I was excited about.
But not a god dog fight.
Okay, let's back it. You got one. And now you're trying for
It's
another.
gladiator level.
Okay. I just feel like the last week it was cool because they brought in like, hey, we have a vampire who's fighting, and now you're fighting the vampire. And I thought that was a cool moment because I'm like, oh my god, did they just constantly have like monsters fighting down there? And are they just like, is it about like having all this voodoo
Different
monster?
kind of monsters.
Yeah. Are they
Just-
used? They feel like we have a vampire. We usually have other stuff, but now it's just kind of like.
See,
just
I
people
thought that it was
fighting.
just going to be people fighting. I thought it was just like, here is, Hal the
It's fine.
pedophile versus.
Yeah. It's not so bad. I just kind of wish it was a bit more than that. I kind of thought that that's what it obviously is, and I was expecting it to be a bit more.
I thought thought it was like what I was feeling was with the ominous like paintings and stuff in the house and things. I thought it was building up to this like because I just love the folklore of like New Orleans and things and just all that. So it was just like okay, yeah, there's gonna be something deep going on. And then again, it's a betting thing, and I'm like, it's cool. It plays well into the story, but at the same time, it's like, oh, okay.
We also see Jesse's remorse too, though, when Jody kills because they don't get their soul unless they beat Jody in round 2, and then Jody is supposed to not kill them so that TC can patch them up. But we see him say, with this smooth talking young boy who's going out bringing all these people to the tombs, there's so much more where that comes from. And we see this moment of Jesse kind of like, I don't want to be here before he puts on the top hat and walks out.
I guess that's also kind of why I felt like it wasn't as exciting for me because I feel like they never beat Jody. So it's kind of like it's a clear answer of what's happening there. And I don't understand why people are so crazy about it. Like they brought it up at that AA meeting or the glue sniffing meeting a couple ones, and they were like, "Oh, are they opening up the tombs again?"
But because it's like to them, it's the same as like like cockfighting or something or dog fighting.
I guess I was hoping it was like some sort of drug, but with soul stuff.
But maybe that's what the thing is, that it's addictive. Like betting can be addictive, and this idea of like, oh, I was sniffing glue, but I'll go and bet on people killing themselves.
Well, I think that it's that they do,
speech,
and because they, when he does say, "What do you want me? How much do you want me to take from them?" and he's like, "Every last drop." I think that it is something where it's, that when they fight, it does release this. Some sort of tangible element that
I think it's
Madame Mangel can consume.
It's also giving them like a fake hope so that they can keep taking little bits of soul from them, which is what I think it is. By the way, we're getting some questions earlier in the feed, I noticed, and I wanted to wait until we talked about it now. We were talking, a lot of people were asking whether Cass has like superhuman abilities, whether he's stronger or faster than a normal human. I believe he is. I think that's been established. Yes. But the thing is, he doesn't actually like killing people.
No.
So he also knows he can take a beating and not really get hurt.
We see that when he's first introduced in season 1 when he's on the plane, when he takes out all of those guys and he's fighting and we see him move lightning quick. So we do know that he does have some superhuman abilities, that he is stronger. He is able to break bones just by cracking them.
So a lot of people were complaining that like, this is a good point, by the way. I'll get to that in a second. Ivan Soto brought up a good point. I'll bring it up in a second. They do have, he can kill people. It's not that he doesn't have the ability to be superhuman. It's that he's holding back because he doesn't want to kill people. Even the guy he was forced to kill, he had a moment where he was like, are you okay?
Yeah.
And by the way, Ivan Soto did bring up the idea that they have killed vampires in the past. That's what that whole picture was for. So they do have a history of dealing with monsters and
we
stuff.
talked a little bit about that last week, too. Okay. We kind of dove into that a little bit more as well.
Cool.
But yeah, this was pretty cool seeing, the way this is cut, seeing the top hat go from young Jesse to then having it be on adult Jesse now. And that's when we see the introduction of Cass fighting Hal. And I love that it keeps circling back to the same science teacher that we see.
Well, won't anymore.
No,
not anymore. Because skin suit.
Mission Impossible 2.
By the way, the skin suit, the one thing about the skin suit is I wish it didn't work that well. I wish he kind of looked like
he had a skin
the
suit.
guy from Men in Black.
That's
or
what
something.
I was thinking. I
Or
thought it would
Texas
look more
Chainsaw
like sugar water.
Yeah, like this.
Yeah.
But instead he kind of...
Edgar. Yeah, he
it
looked
worked
just
too
like
perfectly?
him. Well, because he was only wearing it for a second, I think is why. The mouth and stuff would have fit differently. It would have...
I also don't think they can do a certain limit of grotesque, but they can't quite
they can't do full like Texas Chainsaw Massacre
they can't make
off.
like...
That's what was weird. I think it's because of the eyes. I think it still had like eyeballs, which wouldn't have been...
Before the skin suit, though, we do have a moment where Jesse does try to save his friend. A little bit of bromance. Little bit, where you see him trying to distance himself from everyone, including Cass, by being a bit mean to him, and then later trying to ship him off.
Which was such a great scene.
I don't know why Jesse didn't realize he should at least wrap him in plastic. At least Laura Palmer him if they're gonna do anything and send him off.
Yeah,
you know?
I did think like that's a lot of blood drip that whether Cass got out or not.
Yeah, all they had was
It's like they would have if it had gone through any X-ray machine, they would have been like, well, this is a shit ton of body parts.
Yeah, it's just peanuts and cardboard. It wasn't gonna hold in bodily fluids. Anyways, but we do see him leave. What does he actually tie to his hand?
So this is what was genius. It's the paper cutter
The
that was
paper
there.
cutter.
So we see Jesse. This is, again, the editing. We see the guy who's working there with the paper cutter.
Right.
And he's slicing it. And then we see from that angle of the peanuts dropping. And then we see back to Cass.
And we do have the nice moment when, after we see he's left, we do see a bit of tape fall. So you kind of already know that he taped himself up.
Yes.
And that's how he made it out there. But I couldn't figure out what it was.
Yeah,
At
he
first I
taped
thought it was
the paper cutter to his arm so that he
Okay.
could go in there.
I thought it was a shillelagh at first. I thought it was like, where did he find one of those?
Yeah, I absolutely loved this. I thought that this was brilliant. We did get an address, though, which I thought was interesting, that when he was shipping it, because I was like, where is he going to send it?
where is he shipping
the
it?
address is 3927 Ann Street, which didn't make any sense.
Ann Street?
Yeah, Ann Street, New Orleans, 90119.
To New Orleans.
To New Orleans.
Which is interesting because when
Because that's the bus that he gets on, ultimately.
he also gets on the bus and he heads back to New Orleans.
Yeah. So he
That's
is
interesting.
going to New Orleans, but there is a set address. There's a specific location. So I'm wondering what that's going to circle back to.
Yeah, I'm curious about that. I have some theories, but that kind of goes into the comic book spoiler territory, which we'll get to at the end.
We'll hold off on that
yeah.
one. But I love that Jesse is able to kind of trick everybody by saying, you keep saying he's my friend. He's not my friend. Like, Jody, you keep saying you're going to fight my friend. He's not my friend. He's just
Yeah. Well, he
nothing
had
but a
to-
vampire and trying to
Playing the part.
play it off.
Yeah.
Playing the
So
part.
that he can make it seem like Cash chewed his own hand off. The only thing that I thought was weird about that was, wouldn't they be able to tell that it's cut versus not off? Like, I know
Maybe he just
TC isn't the
nibbles on it a bit.
smartest, but
Maybe Jesse's just going to
Jesse's
nibble on the
nibble
edges.
on
Might have,
Cassidy
yeah.
to...
I would give it to a dog for a little while and then just
Very
wrestle it away
elaborate.
from the dog. If I'm doing an elaborate stunt where I'm protecting my vampire best friend and I have his severed hand, I would feed it to a dog
I love how
first.
Cassidy was just like not appreciative though. He was just like, there are like 20 other ways we could have
Yeah.
gotten me out of it. And he was
It's
actually
like,
right.
Cape Fear it, man.
Like,
yeah,
there were so
and
many
Skin
ways.
Suit even did
Yeah.
work, which
did
we
work.
ultimately saw.
Skin suit work.
And Jesse's
Skin
just like,
suit
no,
worked.
this is the only way, which also goes to Jesse always being stubborn. So
I also forgot, I think this is maybe just my fault, but I totally forgot. I was like, what is he constantly trying to get in the tombs? What is that little bottle?
The love potion.
The love potion,
Yeah,
which
you
I
dropped the
totally,
love potion.
I totally forgot. So it actually caught me like, what is he going after? Why is he? Because you could tell that's why he went back into the tombs.
Yeah, was to go
just
back
that
to get the
potion.
love potion, which we ultimately see he does have his chance
yeah.
And he doesn't
with
take it.
Tulip. And this was heart-wrenching as Tulip flat out when he's like, she puts him on the bus. She's driving him to the bus station and he says, you're going to go back there even
Yeah.
after everything he's done? And we see Tulip's unwavering love and Cass flat out say, I'm not leaving without you, when she's echoed this whole season. I love you. And she
Yeah.
flat out just says, but I don't love you.
Right.
Which we know she means like romantic.
Right,
Because she
right.
did say
Oh,
she
yeah.
loved him at
Well,
one time.
yeah.
But
And I
just
hope he got
seeing
that.
I mean, he obviously knows that, but I mean, him going to grab the love potion and that just the suspenseful music and this is about to change everything. And then him just deciding,
That was a great
ultimately-
moment. That's a good character moment. And
Yeah.
it was like a moment where I actually legitimately did not know which way he was
Yeah.
going to go with that.
And I don't think he did either. And I think we were supposed to feel that.
It
Yeah.
was really good. But you also have to remember he still has the love potion.
Yeah,
does.
He doesn't pour it down the drain or anything like that. He keeps it.
So he goes on the bus to New Orleans with a love potion in hand.
I think it's definitely going to come back
It's
around,
definitely going to
but
circle back.
I thought it was a good moment, though.
My question is, if he drinks enough blood, does his hand grow back or does he need the hand to reattach?
If it's like Deadpool style, I was wondering the same thing.
I don't think it's Deadpool
I don't think
style.
it does. I don't think it grows back. I
Baby
think just he has
legs,
to
you
bring
know.
it to him.
Yeah, I think he
Yeah.
needs to attach it, which is interesting.
Now, I loved too how many moments that they purposely would have harken back and have kind of juxtaposed with young Jesse and Jesse now. So having him come out when Cass finally does make his reentry, when he's like, I got 3 announcements after he does his whole welcome you motherless goat humpers, which I loved. It's the same intro. You think he's going to be all about it. And then he says, won the Blue Toyo.
Why do you have an alarm?
Which is funny,
No one
yeah.
wants to steal your car.
Yeah.
But then announcing that God has left heaven and telling everybody,
Yeah.
you know, and people laughing, thinking that it's a joke.
He also became a preacher again at that.
Yeah.
Those moments are so strong when he goes back into the faith.
Which is
you
cool
know?
because we saw him as young Jesse doing the, and may God have mercy on our souls, kind of the mock preacher.
Yeah.
And then seeing him go into his true preacher nature, I thought was really, really cool this episode, and was something that they did really muted and subtle that I thought was just absolutely brilliant.
Back on it when his friend came down, and he had to get back into the role in order to get his friend
He's
down.
like, great.
Yeah.
Great.
He's
Yeah,
like,
then
"I was
had to
just trying
immediately
to-"
turn because he said that they were closed down, and then he had to bring him back, and then keeps telling him, stay down, stay down.
Yeah.
I
And
love
he
how
doesn't listen.
the guy came in. He's like, "What's the third one?" Like,
Yeah.
there were just so many great because that second announcement he had was so intense, and then once again, it's that juxtaposition of the joke, but not.
Right.
It doesn't discredit that strong moment beforehand,
Yeah.
which is so great that that balance that the show always has.
They're perfect at that on this show. And this was just, I loved her coming back, her talking to Jesse and just flat out saying, like, you're a mean son of a bitch, but you're not that mean. And then having, you know, the next morning and then her just waking up, oh shit, your ex-girlfriend.
I also love that she was just like in the car with the phone,
just like texting, like,
she
no,
had
babe.
Candy Crush at least or something.
Well, she is a voodoo priestess. She's probably used to a lot.
Yeah.
And she,
Like, I get it.
she easily could have had anybody come get her out of the car, and she intentionally said, don't come.
She was like, nah.
But that's why I think that this is why it's God's plan, is because if Tulip had not messed things up, then they wouldn't be in that scenario.
Right.
If things had gone...
But it's interesting because if God really wanted to take Jesse out of the picture, he kind of already is out of the picture right now. So why is God pursuing something?
Because Jesse doesn't have Genesis, and as soon as Jesse has Genesis, he's back to his mission.
But he doesn't have Genesis.
Yeah, because Tulip messed up.
But that's the thing, is it's like, if
Right.
he can keep Tulip from, you know, getting Jesse back to Genesis, if he can have Tulip keep pulling strings to where she messes up and he stays in Angelville,
Right.
then he doesn't get Genesis back and God goes free, because then nobody can stop him.
Uh-huh. But it feels like, I don't know, God's playing a dangerous game by keeping Tulip there, is what I'm saying. Like, I feel like if Tulip leaves...
I love that this
Jesse
show, too,
would
we
be-
can say God's playing a dangerous game.
I don't know if I agree with God's plan, is all I'm saying. Well, we should get
What
a
do you
really...
think? Should we dive into some predictions really quick?
Yes, predictions that aren't
Buzz
comic book
TV
related.
predictions.
Oh, that's a new one. Look at that.
Yeah, I think we're gonna get Hitler and Arseface next week. I didn't get to see the next week on, but I assume they're on it.
I saw the next week on. I don't think they're going to be on it.
What? Not yet.
I don't think they're
There's
going
a
to be
lot
on
of
it.
stuff
There's a
going
lot
on.
next week. I don't think that they're going to be on it. Next week is called The Coffin. We've seen Jesse in a coffin
right,
earlier, so I
right.
think this is going to be another juxtaposition of him, young Jesse, in the coffin versus Jesse now.
Okay.
Punishment in the coffin.
Okay. I'm anxious to get to the spoiler section, by the way. So let's.
Yes.
What other predictions do you have?
Well, we saw with the next week that somehow Cassidy gets taken, and we did see Featherstone's on the bus, so
cool.
she's definitely going to make an appearance.
That's
which,
right, Featherstone.
It's not my fave, but I think it'll be interesting. I guess we'll go from there because somehow Cassidy has to reunite with
That's true. Yeah.
his other bros. So
See, Humperdew has a failed attempt at meeting the Queen next week.
Oh boy,
This'll
Humperdew's
be-
Back.
Humperdew's back.
Okay. All right, let's talk about.
I think that, well,
Let's sign out.
okay, yeah. Don't worry, Dave. We're getting
Okay.
there. I got it. So, want to thank everybody for joining us here on the AfterBuzz TV show. We're going to be back here next week. We're not officially saying goodbye yet. We have some spoilers for you guys for the comics. We don't want anybody who doesn't want to know comic book spoilers to be spoiled. So we're going to say goodbye now. But if you want to hear more about our opinions on comics, specifically Preacher and how it pertains to the show right now,
Yeah.
stick around. But In the meantime, if you guys are signing off, you guys can keep up with me at Alana Jordan on Twitter and at Instagram at that Alana Jordan Girl.
And you can find me at Mr. Dave Child or davechild.com. And also, I'm going to be on The Gong Show this Thursday. So if you want to watch ABC, you'll see me dancing in short shorts in front of Mike Myers in weird makeup.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And I can't top that. My name is and you can find me on Twitter at Miss Chauncey KR.
And if you guys see me at Comic-Con, come up and say hello. I'll be there this weekend. So
Great.
Same. I'll be there too.
Yeah. So this is your last spoiler alert.
So get out.
Spoiler alert. If you don't want to hear it, then
Get
don't
out of the
listen.
house. Get
Cue
out of
them
the
up.
house.
Here's a spoiler noise. We'll make our own spoiler alert.
Okay,
There we go.
okay, cool, cool.
Alert.
You have been
Spoiler
significantly warned.
Spoiler alert.
All
I feel
right,
like we've
Dave.
entered
I know
a
you've been
secret
holding on
room.
this. So, talking about the comics versus
Okay.
the show right now.
So for a couple of things, one is we have the devil, which I'm excited that we have the devil because I know what this means is that he's going to do something with Eugene and Hitler, but he's somehow going to get his guns back, and I think he's going to kill the devil.
Well, he does in the
He does in the comics, and
I'm
so
waiting for it.
I almost didn't expect them to do it because it's like having the devil and actually killing the devil is like
I
a
think
whole
it's
other
gonna happen.
thing, and I was super excited to see that's on the horizon.
I kind of felt they were definitely going to do that when he
Right.
was just being so crappy to the killer saying because he was just like so like swarmy. I was like, oh, he's waiting. He's gonna wait for like the roundabout to eventually come back to him.
Yeah.
oh, definitely.
Also, I thought that they did a great job with building attention for the people that read the comics with Cass and Tulip.
That's why I was like, oh my god, he's gonna do it because I think in the comics he's kind of crappy, like towards you know, he's manipulative. He's not
is.
this
He
cat
does-
that's necessarily on the show, which I am so sympathetic for most of the time.
Yeah. And I think, yes. And so I thought, sorry, I was getting distracted by something in the chat. But yeah, so he could still use it. He could still use it on Tulip. And that could still be, making us like him more is going to make it even more painful when he crosses the line. So I love that they're building that up. And someone mentioned this, Luma mentioned this in the chat, and I think we were kind of hinting at it when he's going back to New Orleans. I would love it if he goes to that goth like vampire bar.
I think that would be
yeah.
dope. Well, because we see a little spoiler for next week is that he gets on Bite Me, which is like Grinder for vampires.
Great.
Yeah.
So they're definitely setting it up.
So he meets like a 200-year-old vampire. So I think it's going to be the whole, I think 100% when we saw that, I'm like, oh, he's going to that bar.
I'm excited to see him deal with like Twilight fans now, and I'm excited to see him deal with Buffy fans and everything.
It'll be a nice subplot for him.
Yeah, I think
even just hearing the Harry Potter reference this episode made me very happy. So I'm excited to see all of these kind of updated references that we're going to get now in Preacher. So it's going to be cool because in the comics, I mean, we didn't have a Twilight to compare, so we didn't get to see Cass's take. I'm excited.
One thing that I'm also excited about this is we get a lot of things in the chats that are like, Cass is so much better than Jesse. Oh, I want her to go with Cass because Cass is so much
and
better.
just you think about the comics and what happened, and you're like,
he's pretty.
You don't want that.
He's pretty awful, and I think
He's horrible.
I think they're just spending time before they get to how awful he is, and I love how lovable he is right now.
I do wonder, are they going to go that dark though?
I think they
think they
definitely
will.
are. Now, we do
but
have
what would
to...
cause that for him at this point?
I think we'll have to get into that next week because we got a wrap here,
Yeah, we
guys.
do.
And one more time, put yourselves over here for anybody still listening.
Well, you can catch me on Twitter at Miss Chauncey KR and also on Instagram at Miss Chauncey K.
DaveChild.com, Mr. Dave Child. I'm Dave Child.
Twitter at Alana Jordan, Instagram at that Alana Jordan Girl, and you can find us all here at AfterBuzz TV, and we'll see you guys next week.
Thank you.
Producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff. We would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later!
Herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.